Good afternoon. As Ralph said, my name is Kevin Crowston from Syracuse University and National Science Foundation, and the small print at the bottom says that these comments are my comments and not the comments of the National Science Foundation, something I have to say in my current job, unfortunately. It's my pleasure to both take over the co-leadership of the track, which I hope people will take a look at, and even more so to introduce today's keynote speaker, Fernanda Viegas. So you may be asking, who is Fernanda Viegas? So to start with the basic biographical information, which I learned from the source of internet wisdom, Wikipedia. Yes, Dr. Viegas is noteworthy enough to have a Wikipedia page. She's Brazilian, originally from Rio de Janeiro, who made her way to Cambridge, Mass. By way of University of Kansas. I can only assume that you were looking for a change, and Lawrence, Kansas was the place least like Rio that you could find. She does say that she still misses the warm weather of home. She received her PhD in Media Arts and Sciences from the MIT Media Lab in 2005, and after receiving her PhD, she joined the IBM T.J. Watson Research Lab. Good afternoon. As Ralph said, my name is Kevin Crowston from Syracuse University and National Science Foundation, and the small print at the bottom says that these comments are my comments and not the comments of the National Science Foundation, something I have to say in my current job, unfortunately. It's my pleasure to both take over the co-leadership of the track, which I hope people will take a look at, and even more so to introduce today's keynote speaker, Fernanda Viegas. So you may be asking, who is Fernanda Viegas? So to start with the basic biographical information, which I learned from the source of internet wisdom, Wikipedia. Yes, Dr. Viegas is noteworthy enough to have a Wikipedia page. She's Brazilian, originally from Rio de Janeiro, who made her way to Cambridge, Mass. By way of University of Kansas. I can only assume that you were looking for a change, and Lawrence, Kansas was the place least like Rio that you could find. She does say that she still misses the warm weather of home. She received her PhD in Media Arts and Sciences from the MIT Media Lab in 2005, and after receiving her PhD, she joined the IBM T.J. Watson Research Lab as part of the Visual Communications Lab in Cambridge, Mass. In April 2010, she and her colleague Martin Wattenberg started a company, Flowing Media, but a mere 4 months later, they were hired away by Google to be the co-leaders of Google's Big Picture Data Visualization Group, which is where she is today. So, a distinguished CV at least, but who really is Fernanda Viegas? Well, the Google gave me another inspiration, so turning to Google, or at least Google Scholar, we can see one face of Dr. Viegas as a well-published and highly cited researcher with dozens of papers and hundreds of citations. It's worth noting that the very first of her academic papers, which is a little further down on the list, was actually originally published at HICSS. And I think something which will make Ralph quite happy, in the top 5 of citations is also another paper from HICSS. So HICSS has been a theme throughout her career. The list of topics, though, is quite broad, so I thought I would apply some of her own tools to try to understand where she really is coming from, namely Many Eyes, a site from IBM of which she was one of the creators while she was at IBM. She describes this as mass audience visualization, that is to say, making the tools of visualization available to general users on sites like Many Eyes, but also on the New York Times site, Smart Money, and other kinds of media sites. So really trying to bring visualization to the general public. So one very simple visualization of her work, courtesy of Many Eyes, is the word cloud, showing the words that are prominent in her published papers. So I got as many of the papers as I could, fed them in. Not too surprisingly, visualization is quite prominent there, but also the word users. So another face of Dr. Viegas as an inventor of visualizations that meet user needs. And given the flood of big data, these visualizations are increasingly important for sense-making, making those available and coming up with better ones to meet the demands of the data is really a very critical challenge, and one I'm sure that we're going to hear more about today. So I thought I'd give you a few examples from some of the dozens that she and her colleagues have done over the years. A slightly more sophisticated word cloud, this time called the PhraseNet, that shows not just the words in the corpus, but the relations amongst them. So you can pick any kind of relationship you want that's expressed in the text and have the system visualize it. This is just pairs of words that happen to come together. So you can see, again, data and visualization often occur together. But so do some of her earlier interests, such as Wikipedia content. Some of the other interests around CMC on the right side of the slide, online, email, Word. An early example from Wikipedia is a system she developed called History Flow that graphically shows the growth and pattern of edits in different Wikipedia articles. And so in the top figure, you can see towards the right-hand side the zigzag pattern, which is indicative of a revert war, as the text in the article bops back and forth between different versions. The bottom one, you can see these black bars, which very graphically show the effect of vandalism as the article is deleted and then restored. The bottom article, by the way, is the article for abortion, so a somewhat controversial topic. The top one, apparently equally controversial, is chocolate. So I'm sure that Dr. Viegas will be happy to explain the story to anyone who is interested in that. A very simple example, again, drawing on Google, is using Google autocomplete to show the zeitgeist. In this case, the difference is in what people search for about why doesn't he and why doesn't she. So he in red and she in blue. So quite a lot of overlap and some significant differences. And a most recent example, which actually is now a product, part of Google+, and which I think Dr. Viegas will be sharing with us, Google Ripples, showing how mentions of websites percolate out through the network. However, a little bit more searching at these different visualizations shows that in addition to the research and product work, there's a somewhat unexpected face of Dr. Viegas, that of artist. As far as I can tell, again, courtesy of Google searching, she's the only person whose CV has both articles at HICSS and a show at the Boston Institute of Contemporary Art. This is actually a still from that piece called The Artifacts of Presence. But as you can see from the piece, she's an artist who actually makes art using the tools of visualization. So not only making visualizations available, providing scientific insight, but also artistic insight. As she puts it, the visualizations can tell us never before told stories and uncover truths. So just a couple quick examples of those. This is one called Flickr Show, showing the relative proportion of different colors in photos of a particular place on Flickr over the course of the year. This is showing the colors in the Boston Commons with the green vegetation and blue sky of summer at the top, the gray skies and white snow of winter at the bottom, and the shifting colors all around. And her most recent piece, Wind Flow, taking the available data about the flow of winds across the continental US and making them into a really mesmerizing display that is both visually attractive, but also gives you some new insights into how the winds are moving around in a much more powerful way. Unfortunately, it doesn't include Hawaii, but hopefully the warm weather here, even if it's not on the slide, is more to like home. Anyway, with those three faces, researcher, system developer, and artist, I know we can expect a very stimulating keynote address. So please join me in welcoming our keynote speaker, Dr. Fernanda Viegas.